Welcome to this week's episode, where we'll be venturing into the dystopian hellscape that is your local supermarket. Grocery bills are skyrocketing, and entire staples are vanishing faster than civility on Black Friday. We're talking over 140 everyday essentials, from your morning coffee to hot sauce. Our research shows stock levels dropping 80% in a month. It's a swan dive into the abyss of empty shelves and culinary despair. Let's start with the one thing that separates many of you from turning into shambling, incoherent messes every morning: coffee. And yes, before you ask, decaf drinkers, this affects you too. The global coffee supply is teetering on the edge of disaster, starting in Brazil. Brazil is grappling with its worst drought in 50 years. This drought has slashed coffee production by 35%. Millions of pounds of beans are stuck at Brazilian ports. Major brands have slashed production, making coffee lovers consider switching to tea. Now, you might be thinking, John, I'm sure they'll figure it out, right? They always do. And to that I say, bless your naive little heart. Because the truth is, this coffee crisis is a perfect storm of awful, and it's only going to get worse. The drought in Brazil isn't some isolated incident. It's a symptom of a much larger problem: climate change. And it's not just Brazil. Other coffee-producing regions are also feeling the heat, both literally and figuratively. Vietnam, the world's second-largest coffee producer, is facing its own set of challenges, from unpredictable weather patterns to rising labor costs. This isn't just about missing out on your morning latte, folks. This is about the livelihoods of millions of coffee farmers around the world who rely on this crop to survive. It's about the delicate balance of the global food system, which, let's be honest, is about as stable as a Jenga tower built by a toddler on a roller coaster. So, what can you do? Well, for starters, don't hoard coffee. Seriously, don't be that guy. Instead, consider supporting sustainable coffee brands that are working to mitigate the effects of climate change and promote fair trade practices. It might cost you a few extra bucks, but trust me, a clear conscience and a slightly less catastrophic future are worth their weight in gold, or, in this case, coffee beans. Now, you might be thinking, John, I'm sure they'll figure it out, right? They always do. And to that I say, bless your naive little heart. Because the truth is, this coffee crisis is a perfect storm of awful. The drought in Brazil isn't some isolated incident. It's a symptom of a much larger problem: climate change. And it's not just Brazil. Other coffee-producing regions are also feeling the heat. Vietnam, the world's second-largest coffee producer, is facing its own set of challenges. This isn't just about missing out on your morning latte, folks. This is about the livelihoods of millions of coffee farmers around the world. It's about the delicate balance of the global food system. So, what can you do? Well, for starters, don't hoard coffee. Seriously, don't be that guy. Instead, consider supporting sustainable coffee brands. It might cost you a few extra bucks, but trust me, a clear conscience is worth it. All right. Let's move on from the bitter disappointment of a coffeeless future to something a little spicier: hot sauce. Hot sauce, that fiery beacon of culinary hope, is vanishing from shelves faster than free samples at a Costco grand opening. Extreme heat waves in Mexico and California are scorching pepper crops, and a global glass bottle shortage is adding to the chaos. So if you love hot sauce, brace yourself for a spicy shortage. Now, I know what you're thinking, John. This is all very concerning, but surely there's some hope, right? Maybe a secret stash of hot sauce somewhere guarded by a benevolent dragon who accepts offerings of mild salsa? And to that, I say, while I admire your optimism, you're clearly forgetting who you're talking to. This is Last Week Tonight, where the only thing we offer is bleak realism and the occasional chuckle at the absurdity of it all. The reality is, major hot sauce brands are already cutting production and rationing their inventory. But fear not, my spicy little chili peppers. There's still hope in smaller, independent markets, especially those specializing in Mexican and Asian cuisine. And if you find a dragon, offer him my sincerest apologies. Right, so you've managed to snag the last bottle of sriracha within a 50-mile radius? You're feeling pretty smug. But have you considered the logistical nightmare that is feeding a tiny human? Because, folks, the baby formula shortage is back, and it's brought its friend, supply chain chaos. Remember Abbott Nutrition? They make Similac, that beige nectar your screaming infant may or may not tolerate. Well, they've decided now is the perfect time to upgrade their equipment. You know, the equipment that helps produce a product millions rely on. And by upgrade, I mean shut down their main manufacturing plant, leading to months of delays. Months, people. Months where parents are left desperately scouring shelves for something, anything to feed their child. And of course, the specialized formulas, the ones for babies with allergies or specific dietary needs, those are the first to go. It's like playing a game of grocery roulette, except the stakes are your child's nutritional well-being. Now, you might be thinking, John, calm down. Can't we just import some formula? Well, strap in, because it turns out the FDA has decided this whole situation needs another layer of bureaucratic complexity. They've tightened import regulations, making it harder for foreign brands to navigate the labyrinthine approval process. Because apparently, ensuring the safety of infant formula also means making it as difficult as possible to actually get it into the country. So, what can you do if you're staring down the barrel of an empty pantry and a hungry baby? Well, smaller independent pharmacies might be your best bet. They often have different suppliers and might have some stock left. It's also worth calling your pediatrician. They may have samples or be able to connect you with resources. Just for the love of all that is holy, do not try to make your own formula at home. Babies are not DIY projects, no matter how many Pinterest boards tell you otherwise. Okay, so maybe your kids are past the baby food stage, but you enjoy a nice protein-packed Greek yogurt in the morning. Well, get ready to be disappointed, because the yogurt aisle is looking a bit sparse these days. And no, I'm not talking about your local supermarket running out of that mango habanero flavor you pretend to like. I'm talking about a full-blown Greek yogurt shortage. You see, those little tubs of creamy goodness rely on a few key ingredients. Milk, obviously, but also those live and active cultures that sound like something out of a science fiction movie. And guess what? Both of those things are facing some serious challenges. Feed costs for dairy cows have skyrocketed, thanks to, you guessed it, supply chain issues and inflation. And those little bacteria buddies? They're not exactly thriving in this economic climate either. Now I know what you're thinking. John, you can't just drop a Greek yogurt shortage bomb on us without offering some solutions. And you're right, because I'm not a monster. So, what are your options? Well, first, you can try mixing regular yogurt with some protein powder. It's not exactly the same, but it'll give you that protein boost you're looking for. Or, if you're feeling adventurous, you can branch out into the world of Icelandic skyr. It's thicker, tangier, and frankly, sounds way cooler than regular yogurt. And hey, if all else fails, there's always cottage cheese. I know, it gets a bad rap, but hear me out. It's packed with protein, it's relatively inexpensive, and it's actually pretty versatile. You can eat it plain, top it with fruit, or even use it in savory dishes. So, before you panic about the lack of Greek yogurt in your life, take a deep breath and remember, there are other options out there. All right, let's talk about fruit, specifically the kind that comes in small, delicious packages and stains your clothes with the fury of 1,000 sunsberries. Remember that delightful period of time when you could waltz into the produce aisle and be greeted by a cornucopia of colorful berries, just begging to be piled high into your shopping cart? Well, kiss those days goodbye because the berry situation is officially dire. California, the land of sunshine and avocado toast, was hit with a freeze earlier this year. And not just any freeze, mind you, but the worst freeze in 30 years. We're talking temperatures so low, they make a penguin think twice. And what happens when you subject delicate berry plants to such frigid conditions? Well, let's just say it wasn't pretty. But wait, there's more. As if a historic freeze wasn't enough, Florida, another major berry producer, got hit with a heat wave so intense it could melt asphalt. Berries, as it turns out, are rather particular about their ideal growing temperatures. Who knew? And as if Mother Nature wasn't already doing a bang-up job of decimating the berry supply, we've also got those pesky shipping costs to contend with. Thanks to new emission regulations, which for the record I'm all for, getting those berries from farm to table is now more expensive than ever. So, what's a berry lover to do? Well, the frozen food aisle might be your new best friend. Frozen berries are often picked at peak ripeness and flash frozen, which means they retain more of their flavor and nutrients. Plus, they won't go bad before you have a chance to eat them. Right, so you're thinking vanilla extract? Big whoop, I'll just skip the cookies. Oh, sweet summer child. This isn't just about your grandma's snickerdoodles. Vanilla is in everything, ice cream, chocolate, even some medications. It's the bloody Kevin Bacon of the flavor world. And where does most of this magical bean juice come from? Madagascar, an island nation that's been hit harder by cyclones than a piñata at a 5-year-old's birthday party. Back-to-back cyclones have decimated vanilla crops, sending prices soaring higher than a lemur on a sugar rush. To make matters worse, some bright spark decided to build a vanilla extract warehouse in New Jersey, a state apparently allergic to the concept of fire safety. A massive warehouse fire wiped out a huge chunk of America's vanilla reserves, adding fuel to the already raging dumpster fire of vanilla prices. So, yeah, that little bottle of vanilla extract that used to cost a few bucks, it's now basically liquid gold. Now I know what you're thinking. John, you beautiful, informative bastard, what am I supposed to do? I can't afford to mortgage my house for a teaspoon of vanilla. First of all, thank you. Second, don't panic. There are options, people. If you're lucky enough to find pure vanilla bean paste, grab it fast. It's potent, so a little goes a long way. Plus, those fancy black specks scream effort. Or make your own vanilla extract. It's easy, just needs patience. Soak beans in vodka or bourbon for months. Boom! Homemade extract for your bake-off. For a quick fix, try maple syrup and bourbon. It mimics vanilla's flavor in a pinch. Not perfect, but a decent substitute. The vanilla crisis is real, folks. With ingenuity, we can weather this storm. Just hold off on that 3-tiered vanilla bean cake. All right, let's talk about eggs, specifically the organic free-range kind that make you feel slightly less guilty about your breakfast choices. You know, the ones that cost more than a small car payment? Well, get ready to shell out even more, because the organic egg market is about to go full-on Humpty Dumpty. Remember that record-breaking winter we had? The one that made you seriously consider investing in a tauntaun? Yeah, turns out chickens aren't so fond of Arctic blasts either. Organic egg production has plummeted like a pheasant shot by a particularly inept hunter, all thanks to those frigid temperatures. And if that wasn't enough, the cost of feeding those pampered chickens has skyrocketed faster than a SpaceX rocket launch. We're talking a 45% increase in feed prices, folks. That's enough to make even the most ethical consumer consider switching to a diet of sadness and instant ramen. So brace yourselves, breakfast lovers, because finding affordable organic eggs is about to become harder than finding a politician who actually cares about the working class. Now, before you resign yourself to a life of scrambled tofu and existential despair, let's talk strategy. The organic egg market may be imploding faster than a dying star, but there are still ways to get your protein fix without resorting to eating your own socks. First and foremost, if you see organic eggs for under $6 a dozen, buy them. Seriously, buy them all. Your future self will thank you. And once you've secured your egg-cellent bounty, channel your inner survivalist and start freezing those bad boys. Just crack them open, whisk them up, and pour them into ice cube trays. Instant portioned eggs, ready to go whenever you are. Of course, if you're not willing to turn your freezer into an egg sickle factory, there's always the option of regular eggs. I know, it feels like a betrayal of your ethical principles. But desperate times call for desperate measures, people. Look, the point is, the egg-pocalypse is upon us. But with a little planning and a willingness to adjust your expectations, you can weather this poultry-related storm. Just, maybe lay off the eggs Benedict for a while. All right, let's talk frozen vegetables, those unsung heroes of weeknight dinners and questionable stir-fries. You know, the bags lurking in the back of your freezer, silently judging your life choices. Well, get ready to say goodbye to your convenient, albeit slightly mushy friends, because the frozen food aisle is about to become a desolate wasteland. You see, Mother Nature has apparently decided that fresh produce isn't terrifying enough on its own. Oh no, she's gone and weaponized the weather, unleashing a biblical torrent of freak storms, floods, and other meteorological mayhem upon our unsuspecting vegetables. And as if that wasn't enough, the processing plants responsible for transforming those poor, battered vegetables into bite-sized pieces of frozen goodness are facing their own set of problems. We're talking labor shortages, supply chain disruptions, and a severe lack of workers willing to endure the soul-crushing monotony of the frozen food industry. So yeah, the next time you reach for that bag of frozen peas, just remember, you're holding a precious, dwindling resource. Before you start stockpiling canned goods, let's talk solutions. The frozen vegetable apocalypse may be looming, but it's not the end of the world. Embrace your inner homesteader and start freezing your own vegetables. Buy fresh produce, blanch it, chop it, and toss it in the freezer. If that sounds daunting, buy frozen vegetables while you can. Keep an eye out for sales and stock up. The frozen food aisle is changing, and we need to adapt. Embrace your inner foodie, fire up that freezer, and let's weather this culinary storm together. All right, folks, let's talk about something near and dear to my heart, chocolate, specifically the fancy stuff, the kind of chocolate that makes you question your life choices up until this very moment of pure, unadulterated bliss. Yeah, well, buckle up, because that bliss is about to get a whole lot harder to find. The world is facing a cocoa bean shortage. Prices have skyrocketed by 137%. Cyclones in Madagascar and a warehouse fire in New Jersey, plus worker shortages in West Africa, it's a whole mess. What does this mean for the average chocolate-obsessed citizen? Those premium chocolate bars you love? They're about to get a whole lot more expensive. Major brands are feeling the heat, reformulating recipes with cheaper alternatives. It's like replacing the Mona Lisa with a Velvet Elvis painting. Act fast. Stock up on premium chocolate before it disappears. Now let's move on to a breakfast staple, cereal. That comforting bowl of crunchy, sugary goodness. But hold on to your spoons, folks. We're talking about a potential cereal crisis, a global wheat shortage, and nobody wants that. So what can we, the cereal-loving citizens of this world, do to avert this breakfast catastrophe? Well, for starters, don't panic. Panicking leads to hoarding, and hoarding leads to empty shelves and fistfights in the cereal aisle. Except maybe for those weird YouTube channels that thrive on chaos. The best course of action, my friends, is to be prepared. If you've got a favorite cereal, now's the time to stock up. And by stock up, I don't mean buy an extra box or two. I'm talking about building a cereal fortress in your pantry. And remember, storing your cereal properly is crucial. Keep it in airtight containers, away from heat and moisture. We're talking about preserving a national treasure here, people. Treat your cereal with the respect it deserves. And if you do happen to find yourself with an abundance of cereal, don't be afraid to share the wealth. Organize a cereal swap with your friends and neighbors. Start a cereal drive for your local food bank. In times of crisis, it's important to come together as a community, to support each other, to share a bowl of cereal and contemplate the fragility of existence. Or, just watch some cartoons. Whatever gets you through the day. Well, folks, that's the rundown on the grocery items that might be vanishing from your shelves sooner than you think. It's a real cornucopia of potential disasters, isn't it? From coffee droughts to chocolate cyclones, the world seems determined to make our pantries a little less full and a lot more stressful. But before you descend into a spiral of apocalyptic grocery shopping, remember this. We've been through tough times before, and we've always come out the other side. Maybe a little bruised, maybe a little hangry, but ultimately okay. So don't wait until it's too late. Stock up on those essentials now, before they disappear completely. And I'm not just talking about the physical necessities here. I'm talking about the things that bring you joy, the little indulgences that make life worth living. Whether it's a perfectly brewed cup of coffee, a decadent piece of chocolate, or a bowl of your favorite childhood cereal, embrace the good stuff while you still can. Stay informed, stay prepared, and most importantly, stay hungry, my friends. We'll get through this together, one grocery run at a time.